But that's not stable, so you need some stable, mechanism, and kind of have a detection mechanism that makes that scarcity stable. So it's really armorous. What we have developed so far, if you look at the biologists, they have fantastic account of not just how human beings do it, but also how animals do it.
So this is a collective society that we base our survival on a collective group effort.
Yeah, we always are group. We're not like mushrooms, like half would say you just popped out from the ground. You survive as a group. Even with early ancestors, monkeys, primates, they live as a group. It's very important because you will see, if you want to survive, not just for protection, but also for food, for one person, you certainly cannot hunt for buffaloes. It's impossible for you to do, and very dangerous. But if you have a group, 20, 30, Indians, and people, it's much easier to do.
But now today it's different.
Today is,
we don't really,
But still, we need communication. We need cooperation. Suppose you just confine yourself to an island. Robinson did. What can you do?
But it was a different time. Robinson Crusoe didn't have internet.
Oh yeah. But remember, internet is a corporation, right?
He had friends and he had monkeys and
But the problem here is
you can. I believe you can. In today's society, you don't have to be in a collective group. I think, and that's what we're.
No. You're talking about the physically. What you're talking about, I could be, isolated physically as a person, but still you are living a collective world. You're assuming you're using internet, you're using cell phones, you have televisions, and those information are input to you by whom? Yeah. So you're still living in a collective world. It's just not, you don't have to physically live with other people. Yeah, that's fine. You could even work at home, but still.
But do you think it's becoming that with the machines that are becoming more and more?
We actually communicate more than before. For example, emails, right? Before, the only work that teachers, professors have to do is that, okay, you go to work and look at the assignment and meet you with in office hours. But today, you have to answer sometimes 20, 30 emails a day. And that's not easy. That's actual work, actually, sometimes. You don't have to, meet in person, but that doesn't mean that you don't have work to do. But still, you have more communication, actually, to do. You are teachers, maybe primary school students don't do that. But even in high school or back, still a lot of email communications.
I have a question. When you were describing that this model is an evolutionary stable strategy, you used a term that I didn't get to write down.
Yeah.
You called it a rational consideration?
It's rational decision, rational consideration, yeah.
So is that a term of art that is used like how evolutionary stable strategy is used?
I believe no, that's...
it's just your term?
Yeah, it's just
okay.
mine. You don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, but it was interesting because it's sort of, it's like a defined sort of way of thinking and acting. So
right. Because suppose everybody rationality defined over what's the best action to do to promote your self-interest. In some sense, at least one standard understanding that what is best for you is the right thing to do. And in this case, what's the best thing for you to do actually is not really the best thing for you to do. So that's why it's called a dilemma. It seems to be the rational decision, but it actually leads in a group setting. It leads to a worse outcome. Yeah.
Didn't he pose, and again, I don't know because some of this reading goes over my head as well, but didn't he pose a lot of this in the decision making, and especially on the cellular level, in regard to the energy conservation, and that's why it's kind of more conducive for us, and you alluded to it in the buffalo. It's not energy conducive for us to go out and take down a buffalo by ourselves because the energy exchange between what we get from that is wasted because we can't necessarily eat the whole thing as quickly as we need to. So that wasn't that kind of his argument, and where I'm going with that is that the more collective we get, the more disconnected we get from the true exchange of energy. Like it wasn't in the book, but there's like an example of how much garbage it takes to collect one shrimp. You know, and that idea that, you know, now we're using shrimp, but we expend so much energy just to get that one shrimp. So, I don't know, it kind of came up in that whole idea of what is cooperative and why we do it in the game to begin.
Now, the point here that really is it doesn't have to introduce any theory of energy. You know, what matters is that what is fit and what can increase your fitness or your survival value. And the buffalo case that one person couldn't hunt it, or you could risk your life by hunting it. But if more people together, you could hunt it and could enjoy the meat, which has more protein than.
Well, that's what I meant by energy, because that we needed to, like he started the paragraph with
but
we
you don't
needed
need
to
energy. The technology you need that can help you survive. That's just the basic thing. Whatever energy it has, it just helps you survive better. That's the point. So that's the idea. Cooperation for self-interest. That's what self-genes have to do. That's why we have symbiosis of all the cells in our body. Many different cells, but they certainly have different agenda, right? You know, my bacteria in my stomach, certainly they want to survive for themselves. And my own genes, my own germline want to make sure those genes will be transmitted to the next generation. And there are many other cells in my body, like body cells, really just slaves to fulfill the function of transmitting the gene to the next generation. But they all share the same purpose to make sure this body continues to survive, to be able to reproduce in the future. So that's the idea that all these genes, even they have different agenda for themselves, the functions to make sure their own genes will be further reproduced. But because of those self-interests have a common goal, and the common goal is that to make sure this body continues to survive and continue to reproduce. The reproduction is actually important than the survival of the body. The survival body is not important. Even we think that we want to survive, so hold on to the last minute. But what's really important from the genetic perspective is really to reproduce better and more offspring. So that's the idea. We learn from the printed dilemma. We need to have some mechanism, some structure to make sure that cooperation is possible. And whenever cooperation is possible, then you have a chance to promote every member's interest. So how to break the dilemma? First of all, is that you have strong connections. You have the exact same structure, or suppose the two persons, they are in the same family, or the synergy is exactly the same. One person thinks cooperation, the other person will also think of cooperation. If they can be assured of that, they have the same line of thinking, they would decide to cooperate. So if they have a strong tie between themselves, like the Italian families, they will never defect against each other. They also are assuming some, but most of them. And the point here is that you have a strong tie and also have a strong consequences. If they do, not only they will suffer, their families, the relatives will suffer too. So all this, make sure that they will cooperate with each other, not defect against each other. So that's the idea that all the cells, if some people have different agenda, but actually they work for the common goal. Like in this society, we could say, we have different purposes, we have different self-interests, but ultimately we have one common goal. So that's the idea, the ideal, at least. Yeah, it's really interesting to read biology, especially the population biology. There's so many things.